Okay, everybody, welcome to the September 14th, 2022 road improvement public hearing. I think the only thing I want to say at the beginning of this meeting is that we're going to allow any or all of you to talk, but we're going to try to hold it to 3 minutes or so. You got to be very entertaining to go over 3 minutes. So after saying that, I'm going to turn it over to Phil Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up on your screen is the same information that's in this handout. It's the information that will follow for this improvement hearing. Going to go right to the first phase, I guess, slide here. There you go. Too many. Oh, we're hammering through this.
Okay, does anybody have any
No, I'm
questions?
going. Okay. My name is Phil Martin, city engineer. So we're going to present the following information. Project scope, the improvements that were completed, and the costs that we've estimated to this point. Improvements, the improvements assessment, the concept of market value benefit, how that's how that is assessed, and then we get your public input. So I think you all know, or all of you at least, are some part of this: Wildwind Ranch Drive, Rushmore Boulevard and Trail, or Birch Narrows Road. Originally, when this project was contemplated, it was actually another engineer, and they also had thought to do Harbor Lane, Whitefish Avenue, Cool Haven Drive, Hilltop Road, and Woodland Avenue. After discussions, it got pared down to these three improvements. So the improvements are essentially completed minus some issues with turf restoration. We have problems with grass growth in some areas and prolific weed growth that we haven't fully paid the contractor to complete the project, so we will continue to withhold some of the dollars to try and get the grass growing to our satisfaction, or at least the satisfaction of the specifications. But Wildwind Ranch is a project that was on the city's horizon for a while. That was considered a full-depth reclamation with a subcut section, and that is estimated to be a total project cost of $220,000 when complete. Rushmore Boulevard and Trail is a full-depth reclamation project. Again, full-depth reclamation, you all saw if you lived on it, was chewed it up and spit it back down, and then it was built on top there. That was $257,000. And then Birch Narrows Road was originally thought we'd do a full-depth reclamation there, chew it up and leave it. But when we did borings, we found out there was no structural aggregate underneath the road. So then it became a remove. They reclaimed the blacktop and did some minor grading and then put back class 5 and bituminous. That cost estimated to be $315,000. So the city uses an when they look at assessing these improvements, they use Minnesota Statute 429. It has a process in which you've all maybe been aware of through the years on this, but the first item is an improvement hearing. Actually, it's a feasibility report that the former engineer did and provided to the city in December of 2020, and the city considered it or accepted it in January of 2021. Then there was an improvement hearing in February of 2021. The city delayed, based on the comments they received, they delayed going forward, and then had another improvement hearing on August 2021, and in which case, at that point, they decided to go forward. Plans were prepared. We received bids. The roads got constructed, and now we're at the final assessment hearing. The city follows ordinance number 358, and essentially that's the notion that the assessment to each parcel will be at a rate that does not exceed the market value benefit. Market value benefit, from your perspective, probably differs from what the city is proposing. But what the city does is they hired an independent appraisal company to come in and give an opinion of market value benefit based on what they were proposing to do. And those appraisals or those opinions of market benefit were in the original feasibility report that the city accepted. And that's what established a range of benefit that the city could consider as an assessment, with the idea that it would be defendable if you proceed to appeal and take this to district court. Not to say the city would win, but the city has done their homework going into this. Assessment. If an assessment is adopted, after it's adopted, you can either pay it in full with no interest within 30 days, or the city will determine a period in which they would essentially allow you to pay it off at an interest rate. The city has, most cities have an ordinance that says if they bond for a certain interest rate, they can charge you up to 1 or 2% above that. And I don't know, what's the city's?
Right now, we're trying to match the interest rate with the net effective interest rate of the bonds, plus up to about just less than 2%.
Okay. So part of what the city council has not done, but will be probably taking input from staff and then making a decision, is if they go forward and assess this, they will also identify a period of the assessment and the interest rate of the assessment.
Yeah, right now, what we're proposing is a 15-year assessment at right about 5% based on current rates.
Okay. And we pre-talked about that because I have an example in a following slide. So here, I'm going to read this. I don't mean any disrespect. I know you can all read, but I think all things considered, this is probably going to be a pretty germane point of our meeting. You have the opportunity to appeal as part of the 429 process. Appeal or state your objection or opposition to the assessment. You can't do that. You can do it verbally, but it doesn't carry enough weight. You need to do it in writing. You don't have to have a formally written letter. You can grab a piece of paper or a napkin and you can write your opposition. It's that simple. You didn't need to have it prior to the meeting. Some people provide it prior to the meeting. You do need to provide it before you leave here today, if that's your intent. It doesn't mean you have to go through, but if you don't do it in writing, you give up your opportunity to appeal to district court. So, no appeal to district court may be taken as to the amount of an assessment unless a written objection signed by the affected property owner is filed with the municipal clerk prior to the assessment hearing or presented to the presiding officer at the hearing. Again, I think we would all just say if you want to provide it, get it to us tonight. The second option that I want to bring up is deferment. This is, again, something that the 429 process allows a council to consider or a city to consider. The council may, in its discretion, defer the payment of this special assessment for any homestead property owned by a person 65 years of age or older, one retired by virtue of a permanent or total disability, or a member of the National Guard or other reserves ordered to active military service for whom it would be a hardship to make the payments. So again, a couple of rights that you have with this process. So,
Phil, can I interrupt you for a second on that one, just for clarity? If you deferred the payment, it's accumulating interest until at some point in time it is paid. Is
correct.
that true?
Yep.
Okay.
The period's probably 15 years.
Okay.
You would accumulate interest at 15 years, you would have to pay it. It's a good point. So, market value benefit. The city did not come upon this on their own. Again, they hired Nagel Appraisals Incorporated to do a opinion of market benefit before the projects were even started. They were in the feasibility stage where they were determining where the improvements would be, what they considered the improvements would be, and the appraiser went around and they came up with an appraisal for each particular road. The Wild Wind Ranch Drive appraisal was actually done in December of 2019 because that project was slated to be constructed prior to the other two. It delayed. I'm not certain why, if it was high bids or what. But then when Birch Narrows and Rushmore were considered, the appraisals were done in December of 2020. And in those appraisals, opinion of market benefit was determined for these projects that were considered, which were full depth reclamation projects, anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. And it considered things such as, are you lakeside or are you non-lakeside? Are you a vacant lot or such? So that established the range that the city had been considering. That is what's spelled out in this feasibility report from December of 2020, and ultimately that's what the city has used to identify an assessment. So here's the market value benefit assessment that the city selected. They selected to assess $4,000 per parcel, staying within the range of $2,000 to $10,000. Additionally, from the improvement hearing that was had in February and then again in August, there was discussion about a handful of properties that were actually west of Birch Narrows Road, where the cul-de-sac is, parcels that actually cross private property, whether there's an easement there, I understand there's an easement, but they cross private property or they are on a gravel road that is served off of Birch Narrows. The point being, each of those properties has a benefit, does use Birch Narrows to get to that point. So a determination was made to make that half of an assessment. So it's $2,000 per those parcels that access across private property. So then what the city does is it takes that assessed amount. We assessed it against 102 parcels in total. If you assume 15-year at 5%, which Mike talked about, that $4,000 assessment equates to an annual payment of $385.37 per year if you don't pay it up front. So in summary, what the city did is they had a total project cost of $792,000 for these three projects. The city cost is $406,000 after you take out the assessed amount, which would be $386,000. So this is again, the point of this public hearing is to formally let the public know what the city is intending to do or is proposing to do. You provide input as to your opinion or opposition of this. We would request you state your name and your address for the record. As the mayor had indicated, 3 minutes is what we would like to keep the comments to. And then at the end of this, the city clerk is going to read any letters that they received so they can be into the record. That's it.
Okay, I got a couple of questions for you. Market value benefit, you said Nagel Appraisals looked at on lake or off lake?
Mm-hmm.
And our assessment is the same across the board, correct?
The view I think the city has had is whether you're on lake or off lake, you use the road.
Use the road. Just to clarify that.
Yeah.
Their assessment benefit is from $2,000 to $10,000 per property. Mid-range is $6,000. We did go down to 4, adjusted down to 4. I think you told me we're shooting for about a 48% assessment.
No, I did not tell you that. I said that if you do the math,
That's what it works out
it
to.
turns out to be 48%.
On this particular group.
On this particular, yep. Overall, so that's combined all three roads and the amount we assess total. If you just do the math, that's 48% is assessed.
Okay, so if the city decides to assess, is it going to be $4,000 per lot next year when we do a road?
It would depend upon, what we would do is we would get opinion of market value benefit for the road as part of the feasibility study, and then the city would determine what they were going to go. They could choose to stay consistent with what's done in the past, if it fits, or I don't know if the range will be different. You may choose to go within a different range. Some of these things will be impacted, I think, by the time, what is going on.
Okay. I kind of wish we could set that in stone so everybody knew if this is it, that's what it is. Maybe with a percentage increase, just cost of living increase, but.
Well, I think you have to understand that the city is not going to assess more than they believe is the market benefit. And it gets down to, you have to have a position that you feel comfortable defending in court. So a city could say it's going to be 4,000 every year, but I think it's not wise to not occasionally check that to make sure you're still falling into a range that can be defended. And I don't know that you can do that every year. That will be a city decision, but your assessment policy says you are only going to assess not more than the benefit.
What do we pay the appraisal company to come up and do the appraisal?
I don't know what was paid. 2.
It's between $2,000 and $4,000 roughly, depending on.
For the whole group?
For each separate one, depending on the number of parcels they look at and the size and scope of the project, so it could be more. And that's included in Phil's costs here.
Okay. I mean, it just seems to me if we did it every 5 years or something and did a cost of living increase each year, but maybe I'm getting into the weeds too deep.
Well, one of the things you have to look at when you do an appraisal is it's specific to the time that it's done. And the idea here was to be within a range that was defensible if challenged. And so I think Phil would agree with me that we feel that we're within a reasonable range that we would be successful upon challenge.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll open it up to the public. Now you have to come up, state your name, address, and try to keep it to 3 minutes.
I'll try. It's pretty close. Somebody has to be first also. My name's Terry Kovacevic. I'm have a property on Birch Narrows, 15612. And I have a formal objection I'll leave a copy with and just try to run through my comments on it. Minnesota Statute Chapter 429 clearly states the property must receive a special benefit, in this case $4,000 from the improvements taking place. Birch Narrows was a paved road, which we have been paying taxes for, and still is a paved road, so improvement going from a dirt gravel road to pavement did not occur. The road drainage and runoff in my property is much worse during heavier rains in 3 areas now, since the road has been resurfaced with a significant increase in roadbed height, and I never had these problems before. I watched a contractor dig out an extensive soft area that passed by my house, installed geotextile fabric, and he hurriedly backfilled in a single lift of approximately 16 inches in some of the areas with limited compaction. I was told by the Bolton and Menck engineer that the state spec allows 12-inch lifts. The reclamation company, it was discussed earlier, that reseeded the disturbed area did a good job of planting weeds and providing an easy pathway to my yard, which has taken us a lot of work to correct. I failed to see improvements as we now have more drainage issues than we had, and the only time will tell if the limited compaction on a large lift of fill will have a detrimental impact on the life of the road. My property valuation has increased 48% in the last 3 years, 33% in just the last year, even before the road work was performed. I spoke with Crow Wing County personnel and confirmed the road surface does not impact property valuation. It's based on having enough comparable sales in the area. Again, from the county, paved roads versus gravel roads have not been seen to be a factor in property values. Since the special benefit is an increase in property value of improvements, if there really are improvements, where is the detailed analysis that supports the $4,000 assessment? It can't be a subjective opinion on what someone typically has seen historically. It has to be site-specific, quantitative, and reflect current market conditions. It is clear a comprehensive long-term road maintenance and resurfacing plan is needed for Cross Lake, including the budgetary portion. Unless it's a new road or new infrastructure, all Cross Lake property owners should share in the entire cost through appropriate taxes, not supplemented by special assessments, which are a double taxation, which penalize the property owner. Using Birch Narrows as an example, we the property owners are not the only ones who will eventually tear up the road and accelerate the road deterioration. It will be the contractors, delivery truck drivers, and other users who really don't care, and why should they? The City of Cross Lake's answer is to assess the property owners on individual roads where significant repairs are needed. But this year it has been a pick and choose process. Some are being assessed for the road work on their road, but on different road projects they are not. Many contractors are also on roads way too early in the spring when load limits are in place, but the ability for Cross Lake to enforce is very difficult. A good example of what causes the road deterioration, the majority of the road deterioration, is the bypass road for County Road 66 project, which over a 3-month period probably had an equivalent of 15 to 20 years of heavy traffic it might normally see. Did the property owners destroy the bypass road? No. And after 20 to 25 years of use in Cross Lake, most of the road wear will be from heavy traffic, not the property owners. Why should individual road property owners have to pay assessments for this instead of having a comprehensive and consistent plan for the city? Information I obtained from Crow Wing County indicates there are approximately 5,200 parcels in Cross Lake. Approximately 2,700 parcels are classified as seasonal, about 52%, which is the majority. 1,400 are homestead, and the remainder are other classification. The seasonal classification pays a higher property tax rate than the homestead. So more than half of Cross Lake property owners are not here full time, so their use and contributions to wear and tear the infrastructure is somewhat limited. I am a seasonal owner. To put this in perspective, the amount you are trying to assess the property owners on Birch Narrows would be a $35 per parcel one-time increase in tax if applied to all parcels in Cross Lake for 1 year. And current property valuations don't support this. And that's the end of my comments, and I don't know who I gave the letter to.
Sure. Hey, Terry, $35 per property owner,
Well,
one?
if you take, I got this information from the county. If you take 5,200 parcels and take the 182,000 for Birch Narrows over a 1 year period.
Okay, 30 for one, 35, so we got three, so. So it'd be
And
100
it
bucks.
really, if you have a plan in place, it really shouldn't be over 1 year, it should be over 5. And then you start dividing all this work, and it's nothing if you're splitting it up across everybody in the city. And again, my big beef is we're not the ones that destroy these roads, and the city does not have the manpower to prevent these contractors to put their tracked vehicles on the roads, overweight vehicles on the roads, and everything, and they do it all year long. And just one comment on the 2020 report that was done. It's outdated because the market conditions have changed, but also in there, he talks about general observations, and he mentions that it's typically in a suburban market redevelopment. So we're in a suburban market redevelopment up here? I don't think so. And there's a lot of could see a market improvement when he gets to it. So it's a very subjective report, and it really doesn't apply up here in rural areas. So anyway, appreciate the opportunity to provide some feedback.
I appreciate your homework, Terry.
Yep.
Thank you. Nobody else? Okay, let's adjourn the meeting. Oh. I recognize you folks.
Good evening.
Hi, we're Margaret.
And Charles Pizzo. We live at 12896 Rushmore Boulevard. We have lived there since 2017, since I'm retired, and we have made it our retirement home. Our father in the history bought the place in 1968, and we inherited through his and my mother-in-law's passing. My father-in-law was involved in the 1990 first laydown of the road from a dirt road to a hard road in 1990. From that, people were assessed, of the people that were there. And once the project was completed, the road was turned over to the city of Cross Lake. And the agreement with Cross Lake was to maintain the road for plowing and through the city maintenance facility.
Charles, can I clarify one thing with you? 1990, when they blacktopped it, were you charged an assessment?
Yes.
Our family was a charged assessment during that time, only for that project of the road.
$1,440.
The city charged you that assessment, though. So you didn't pay for the whole thing. They charged you assessment for, and I don't remember the math, I remember the event.
Everyone paid.
Yeah.
Everyone paid $1,440.
But now if a private contractor comes in, does a development, he's got to bring the road up to city standards, blacktopped, and we will take it over. That's what
That
the
is
policy is. But I think when they did Rushmore, that was an established road. The city blacktopped it. You guys were charged an assessment.
No, it
No.
was not.
No?
It is not.
Okay.
This is a road project that the community of Rushmore Estates gathered together and came up with an assessment to each of the lots of the community and had a private company come in and make the road asphalt.
And then the city picked it up after that.
And the city, and we donated it to the
To the
city,
city.
and the
Okay.
city picked up on it.
Okay,
All right,
okay, good.
all right. Now this year,
I'm going to read our letter because Charlie gets a little long-winded.
You got about a minute, 10, you get about a minute, 10 seconds into your 3 minutes now.
he does a better job. All right.
We object to the assessment of $4,000 for the road improvement project for Rushmore Boulevard and Rushmore Trail. Our property is at the lowest point of the road on Rushmore Boulevard. Many drainage issues in the past developed after the first asphalt road was laid in 1991. In 1999, 2 drains were added to the road to control flooding, and a drainage pipe was added to our property. We had no flooding issues after that point. The city decided to replace the road, our road, in 2022 by using a reclamation of the previous asphalt road. This project changed the crown and trough type of style road to a single incline grade with a curb on the lower incline. The width of the road was also reduced by 2 to 3 feet on each side. Unfortunately, this road change caused flooding onto our property. We contacted the engineers every time we had rain. Phil and Andy probably know that. And engineers admitted that a fix needed to be done, which we talked about at a city council meeting as well. The last fix was completed before the Labor Day weekend. Since that time, we have not been able to really test this due to lack of precipitation. These are the reasons we're contesting the assessment. The reclamation project changed the height of the road because the new asphalt was laid on top of the old road, whether it was ground up or not. Class 5 and dirt were then added to the sides of the road at the same level. This road reclamation was not a road replacement, but a major change to our road in height, width, and drainage. Our property is now lower than the road. This has changed the water runoff on our property, and we have no ability to shed water away from our basement. We have incurred costs for flood prevention. We had to add additional garden block, brick garden edging, keep water from washing away our sand, soil, and garden mulch. We have also gotten a bid for an additional gutter, which we have never had or needed. But if we do have to do that, the total will be $1,500, and the landscaping items are currently about $100. We want assurance from the city and the city engineering firm that any issues with rain or snow melt will not affect any flooding on our property. We will not know the effects for at least a year. We feel that any assessment should be delayed until we know if the fixes put in place will do the job. If our assessment is delayed, we do not want to be charged interest until the assessment is confirmed. We also have concerns about the ability for fire trucks, ambulances, and police vehicles to safely perform their duties due to the road width. We are unable to back out of our driveway without going into the neighbor's driveway across the street. Commercial vehicles and garbage trucks must back down the road because there's no place to turn around. Snow removal is basically non-existent. We use our snow blower to remove, and he's the blower, to remove most snow for all the neighbors long before the city ever gets to our street. These issues existed prior to the road replacement, and we feel it will only get worse now that the road is even narrower. We would appreciate taking these issues into account before finalizing the assessment.
Thank you, Margaret.
And
You got
guys
15
have a-
seconds left of your 3 minutes.
We have put a signed copy with the city.
All right,
We've
great.
also added a second letter, but it doesn't need to be read.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not going to talk so long. I'm Jim McClellan, 12780 Rushmore Boulevard. Just a couple years ago, when I came to one of these meetings, we were told that we would pay, the city would pay the majority of the bill for our road. Do the math. That's not the way it is on this. We are 38, we're getting, we're 32% of the total bill of $792,000, but we're paying, well, if I got that right, we're paying like 60% of our project. Do the math of the 257 versus 39 lots. So I don't know who does the math, but that wasn't what we were told 2 years ago. So we got thrown in with the other projects. If everybody was only going to pay under 50%, I don't know about their math, but I mean, our math isn't right. So, because maybe we got more lots, I mean, we got a lot of stuff that's not on the lake, that's on the side.
Yeah, but they're all charged. I mean, they're all assessed.
I know they're all
Yeah,
charged, Dave.
Right.
But, I don't know how
The
those other
density's
roads are.
strong and you're paying
Yeah.
more.
And the other thing, a few years ago, and I can't tell you when, but there was other roads done, Anchor Point and Manhattan, whatever. There was no assessments at that time for those roads. So just saying, this isn't fair. So,
Well taken. Thank you, Jim.
thanks.
My name is Gary Swoberland, and I have a cabin at 36421 Rushmore Boulevard. I drove up to read the letter that I had already sent, but I signed the letter also. But I think it's important enough to hear from the owners. Dear Mayor and City Council members, we are writing to contest the special assessments against our two properties on Rushmore Boulevard in Cross Lake, Minnesota. We are contesting both the amount and manner of the assessments. It is our understanding that Minnesota law requires that a special assessment cannot exceed the amount by which the property benefits from the improvement. My wife and I own a parcel with 4.4 buildable acres along County Road 16 between Rushmore Boulevard and Johnny Street. We are not on the Rush Lake side of the road. This parcel is in the shape of a long rectangle which borders County Road 16 and Arliss Pond and has 877 feet of frontage on County Road 16. Because of the curvature of Arliss Pond, we have more shoreline than that. The portion of this parcel which borders Rushmore Boulevard has a Crow Wing County Power Company easement through most of it. In order to build a driveway on County Road 16, the county requires that you have 750 feet of visibility. We have much more than that. Jory Danielson from the Crow Wing County Highway Department confirmed that we can build a driveway on County Road 16 to access this property. Therefore, this parcel is not receiving any benefit from this improvement. Secondly, we are opposed to the manner of the assessment. Our two parcels have a 2022 assessed market value of $210,000. You are asking us to pay $8,000 out of the total of $156,000. We cannot believe that our benefit is the same as the people with the $1 to $3 million homes are on Rush Lake. And I said, for your reference, we're including a copy of our certificate of survey. We would appreciate your consideration in lowering our assessments. I think that special assessment, maybe it works when the properties are valued similarly, but there's such a wide range of values where we live, and that's, you know, $2,000 to $10,000. Well, there's multi-million-dollar houses going up down the road from me, and we've got a little cabin. And those guys are running up and down that improved road at 45 miles an hour on the straight stretch. All the construction people, all the people that are ordering on Amazon. I mean, now it's more like County Road 16. But my point on the one parcel is it's long. It's that whole straight section from Rushmore Boulevard to Johnny Street. And the nicest part of the parcel is down by Johnny Street where it's wider and where it connects to the government property. And so if you wanted to build on it, that'd be the place to build. And you can access it from County Road 16, because I met with the highway department about 3-4 weeks ago, and he looked at it and he measured, and he said, yeah, you can put a driveway here. And so all I'd have to do is fill out the form and do it. So I don't need, what I'm trying to say is I don't need access from Rushmore Boulevard, and the part on Rushmore Boulevard's got that easement running through it anyway. It's a lousy piece. Plus, I got all the pile of logs left on the end of it that didn't get picked up from the project when it ended. So I think that the special assessment is a regressive tax. It's a regressive tax. It taxes the people with the lower values at a much higher percentage than the other properties. So thank you.
Thank you much, Gary.
Good evening. My name is Judy Fish, and my residence, which is a seasonal, is at 36556 Rushmore Boulevard. And I own 2 lots. That's the address the house is on. The other is a corner one, and that abuts Rushmore Boulevard on the west and all the way down, like, I don't remember how many 100 feet, down on the part that's now narrower. So HR has a copy of my letter, and it's actually in memo form, but I did sign it. So I wish to object to the proposed assessment of property owners for the reclamation of Rushmore Boulevard and Rushmore Trail. I own 2 lots. One abuts Rushmore Boulevard only. The other is a corner lot and abuts Rushmore Boulevard on both the south to north and west to east portions of the street. The reclamation project proposed by the city was, in several recorded instances I have viewed online, defined as benefiting the abutting properties. Indeed, reclamation generally refers to restoring land or a property to former or original use, or even improving it in the process. That has not been the case for property owners who abut and use the 2 streets in question because of 2 changes to the layout and dimensions of the streets before the reclamation. Number one, the greatly reduced width of the west-east extension of Rushmore Boulevard, resulting in a marginal 16-foot wide hard surface street. And two, the elimination of the turnaround T intersection at the north end of the south-north portion of Rushmore Boulevard. If anything, our use, safety, and property values have been diminished. The reduction in width of the west-east extension of Rushmore Boulevard is not just an inconvenience for abutting property owners who have to try to drive around 8-foot wide commercial vehicles or landscaping service trailers without having to move off the new asphalt surface, but creates a huge safety risk to residences of those properties who may have medical emergencies or even a structure fire because of lack of adequate room for responders to enter or exit the street if there are other emergency vehicles parked on both sides of the street. This could also result in a liability for the city because no provision was made for safe travel along the street in those instances. The health emergency situation on that street over the 4th of July resulted in more than one responding vehicle parked on both sides of the road, which blocked any other traffic attempting to enter or leave properties along the remaining section of the street. The elimination of the T intersection is an inconvenience for anyone living along the south to north portion of the boulevard who wishes or needs to turn around to permit ease and safety of backing boat trailers or RVs into their driveways. It also fails to serve owners who live along the west-east portion as well as commercial vehicles serving those properties, garbage trucks, septic service trucks, example, who because of lack of turnaround room at the terminus of that street must back down the street. Larger emergency vehicles are also required to back down the street to either enter or exit. A curved Y intersection is not appropriate for that location. The originally was actually a combination of a T and a Y, which serve our neighborhood very well for over 30 years. The larger question is why both of those changes to the layout of the existing street were only known to the property owners after the reclamation grading and/or surfacing were completed. I have searched available online Council and Public Works Commission documents and find no record of when or why those changes were made or on whose authority, much less any input from impacted property owners. It would seem that something as drastic as reducing the width of a city street would be discussed with property owners prior to design and at the very least prior to the beginning of the reclamation process. I have reviewed the appraisal document the city obtained from Nagel Appraisal Incorporated in December of 2020, which referenced the Crow Wing County GIS property map. And that's the one that you were talking about for the property assessment and the market value. And if anybody ever read it, they will notice that it indicates that it's for the city of Plymouth and then goes on and identifies Rushmore properties. So, if you've missed that in the beginning, I'm not sure how much else is accurate. That document only addressed the added market value for properties that benefit for a road in new condition. However, it brings me to another question. It was only after the grading was done that the Cross-Lake engineer, thank you, Phil, expressed concern about infringement of the new road on my property, which turned out to be the case. A subsequent survey confirmed that the northeast intersection of my undeveloped lot property lines was in the middle of the newly graded curve to the east of Rushmore Boulevard. It is beyond belief that whoever drew up the original design for the reclamation had not done enough research to see that the GIS map clearly shows that property boundaries should have been a consideration. This project was postponed a year from summer 21 to 22, which should have given the city ample time to review the plans and have a meeting with owners to explain the rationale for the non-beneficial changes. My property taxes supposedly support street maintenance throughout the city of Cross Lake, and as a seasonal resident, I pay at a higher rate. So I'm having difficulty understanding why the idea of using that and adding from a city bond was abandoned in favor of assessing property owners. I certainly think it is totally inappropriate for the city to expect any assessment monies from property owners who abut Rushmore Boulevard or Rushmore Trail before the west-south extension of the or, pardon me, that should be west-east. I have west-south in that. We'll need to change that. Before the west-east extension of the boulevard is returned to the width before the reclamation, and the Y intersection is altered to facilitate a vehicle turnaround. Thank you.
Good job, Judy.
I'm Kathy King, and my husband is Pete King. Our permanent residence is 15536 Birch Narrows Road. We also own the 1 acre lot across the street at 15533 Birch Narrows Road. We're being assessed $4,000 for each lot, a total of $8,000. We are opposed to any assessment, let alone a double assessment, as we do not feel that either of our property values increased as a result of the road work. In August of 2020, we had an asphalt driveway put in on our primary lot at a cost of over $8,400 to us. At that time, the driveway was perfectly level with the road. The road is now higher than our driveway, creating a lip that will surely be an issue during plowing in the winters. Additionally, where they married the apron with the existing driveway, there's a definite visible seam that has many pockets and crevices in it that, as the weather changes, I'm sure is going to be deteriorating. When the contractor that installed our driveway stopped by shortly after Birch Narrows was complete, his comment was, "They sure messed up this driveway, didn't they?" We'll probably have to spend more money to have it restored to its previous state and repair the damage that we feel will be caused by plowing. We oppose the assessment as we did not receive $8,000 in added value to our properties, and is going to cost us more money in repairs due to the poor job in matching up our driveways. I have a signed letter along with photos of our driveway that I mentioned. Thank you.
Did you meet with Bolton and Mink or anybody while they were out there doing it? Did you guys have any conversation at all?
No, we did not.
No. Okay. Thanks.
Construction, you let people do their work.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Doug Haynes. I live at 33853 Wildwind Ranch Drive. I'm going to talk about some past behavior, first of all. Back on February 14th, there was a city council meeting, and I'm just pulling this from articles from the Echo Journal, but there was a meeting to debate assessments before awarding the sewer extension bid for Highway 66. During that meeting, there was a lot of talk about assessments, whether they're fair, what to do. And towards the end of that, it prompted you to ask that the city assessments policy be reevaluated. After which led to a long discussion and eventually a suggestion by Council Member John Andrews that the city foot the entire cost and not assess anyone. The idea failed with only Andrews and Nevin in favor of it.
So you're talking about the sewer project? Right.
And road
okay.
improvement for Highway 66. Yes.
The road improvement is a county road, so that, yeah, okay.
Anyway, your idea was let's not assess. You agreed. What are you going to do tonight? You did it for them. You're going to do it for us? On May 4th, there was a meeting about Highway 66 again and the assessments. Dave Schrupp, who's not here tonight, kicked off the meeting by reading a letter outlining his reasons why not to assess the residents and the businesses for the project. I'm not going to read them all, but he finished with saying, "The assessment policy sounded great 3 to 4 years ago, but was not well received by city residents and businesses. It looks to me like it's not being well received tonight." In the past, we have not assessed road improvements because we have the ability to pay for bonds with general levy dollars. Not an issue so far. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sounds like he kind of agrees that maybe we shouldn't assess. I've been to several of your town hall meetings. One message you've repeated over and over is you don't like assessments. You've stated that. You've stated you don't believe in assessments. You voted not to assess 66. What are you going to do tonight? Are you going to stand by your beliefs tonight and vote the same way, or are you going to change it? I'm not asking you to answer that right now. But just looking at some past behavior. Who in favor, with a show of hands, is in favor of this assessment? Mr. Mayor, if you want to count the hands? I saw 2. And I don't know if I should ask this, but I'm going to. Please raise your hand. Who's a registered voter in the city? They hired you. They're not the boss. They're not the boss. They're the boss.
Absolutely.
We pay all the bills.
Yeah.
I think you should listen. Just spread it out over the city. We all live in the city. We all love the city. Let's all share in the cost of maintaining our city equally for all projects. It's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Yep. Who's going to follow that, huh? Does anybody have anything new to add? All right. Oh, yeah, you want to read those, or what are we going to do with them? Are we going to read them?
Want me to go first? Sure. Okay, I have a letter dated September 9th, 2022 to Charlene Nelson. Notice of proposed hearing, letter assessment September 14th. It's from Catherine J. Call, caretaker of 15256 Birch Narrows Road for Ann R. Rott, Tucson, Arizona, 425 Highway 65, Robert Street, Wisconsin. I am the caretaker of my aunt's Carol Ann Roth cabin at 15256 Birch Narrows Road, parcel number 141000694. Along with my aunt, and upon request, I received notice of hearing on proposed assessment about a county council meeting on September 14th, 2022 concerning this assessment. Unfortunately, neither my aunt Carol or myself will be able to attend this meeting. Please receive this letter as my request to deny the assessment. Here are a few questions that I have concerning the assessment. These are similar to the questions that my Aunt Carol has also expressed in an email sent today, followed up by a hard copy letter. I've also been in contact with the surrounding neighbors of this property to discuss this issue. Item 1, the letter I received did not have a third page indicating the assessment is a $0.5 or $2,000 rather than $4,000, which is stated on my letter. I assume I am not being assessed separately from my aunt. I assume it is a $2,000 assessment, which should be similar to the neighbor's assessment. Please confirm or clarify this. 2, Carol Ann Rott has been faithfully paying non-homestead property taxes since ownership in the early 1980s. It is my understanding that property taxes are paid for such expenses as this. This has not been done in the past. Please explain why. Item 3, when discussing this issue with neighbors, I was informed that an outside company from Golden Valley made an assessment that did not recommend paving on this project. The city, however, went ahead and did it anyway. It appears that the road was just a replacement and not an improvement. Could you please explain this further? Number 4, the road pavement project ended well before the driveway of 15256 Birch Narrows Road. There was an abrupt ending in the road with at least a 3-inch drop to the gravel. The three property owners then came together and personally paid for finishing, in quotations, the road by extending the pavement to our driveways. If nothing would have done, this would have created safety issues for residents and Cross Lake maintenance equipment. Repairs had to be made not only for residents, but also consideration for damage to the Cross Lake maintenance equipment during other road maintenance. We worked with Anderson Brothers and Cross Lake engineers on this matter. This was all an additional expense that we incurred that was necessitated by the results of the unnecessary paving project. Number 5, I do not feel this is an improvement to the property, but rather routine maintenance action that should be covered by normal taxes. If there were curbs, added a walking trail, trail benches, water fountain, or something, that may be considered an improvement. Taxes are already paid to have roads maintained. Please clarify what the city council county codes are and the requirement of cabin owners for this. I appreciate your time and efforts in this matter and realize that there is much unrest with the neighbors and property owners along Birch Narrows Road. Thank you in advance for your reply. Catherine J. Call, in parentheses, Katie, caretaker, the 15256 Birch Narrows Road, for Carol Ann Rott, Tucson, Arizona, 425 Highway 65, Roberts, Wisconsin, 54023.
I have the letter from her aunt, Carol Ann Rott. And her address on Birch Narrows is 15256. I am the owner of the cabin on Birch Narrows Road, number 15256. I received a letter notifying me of a meeting on September 14th, 2022 at Cross Lake City Hall. According to the attached assessment worksheet, I am required to pay $2,000, $4,000 in quotations, for road improvement. I live in Tucson, Arizona, and will be unable to attend this meeting. I have owned the cabin since the 1980s, paying non-homestead taxes, double what homestead owners receive. And this is the first time in my memory that I have been asked to pay additional monies. Why? My niece, Catherine J. Call, has been the caretaker of the cabin and has received the same letter. For your information, this road improvement did not extend to my driveway, as well as several of my neighbors. Repairs stopped before it reached my driveway, leaving the rest of the road dirt and with an extended bump drop-off. My niece, along with my neighbors, had to hire and pay additional monies for coverage of the dirt road to smooth out the bump to prevent snow, rain, and vehicle damage. Repairs had to be made not only for residents, but consideration for damage to Cross Lake maintenance equipment during other road maintenance. I am unclear at this point as to what the city code requires of cabin owners about road maintenance that is different from snow removal or other road maintenance. I was surprised to learn that this road repair was not necessary and did not fulfill residents' expectations. Taxes paid in 2022 were $3,632. How much of this does the city of Cross Lake receive? What does that amount cover for cabin owners? As the major financial payer of this property, I would like to know why the city council feels the need to make this assessment. Are all owners of property within the city being assessed when road improvements are made on their streets? Thank you for your consideration to deny this assessment. Carol Ann Rott.
The next letter is from Tom Fuith, Futh or Fife. Attention City Administrator, Cross Lake, Minnesota. Good evening. Our names are Tom and Lori Futh. We have a cabin at 15652 Birch Narrows and 2 additional properties on Birch Narrows. In total, we have 3 properties affected by this proposed assessment. We are writing today to object to the proposed $4,000 assessment for each of the properties on the grounds that it failed to bring any additional value to our property, and to the contrary, it actually brought additional hardship, unwanted dirt drainage, and sediment onto our existing driveway. We will provide some pictures to support this. The three property PID numbers are 141-00711, cabin 15652 Birch Narrows, 141-00635, pole barn 15609 Birch Narrows, 14110-516, vacant land majority on Highway 3. Property 141-00711 cabin has 33 feet of frontage on Birch Narrows. That's right, 33 feet. As stated before, the new road has brought zero benefit to us and has actually resulted in additional issues we must now face due to constant debris, due to the poor drainage we are now faced to deal with. A $4,000 assessment on 33 feet of road borders on ridiculous. Couple this with the fact that our 2023 assessed value has risen over 47%, and appears you are trying to drive people out of their homes/cabins. We are attaching pictures labeled Exhibit A. While some of the drainage issues may be mitigated, the simple fact is that we have enjoyed no benefit from the new road on our 33 feet of land. There are some issues as well as how the asphalt has been pieced into our existing driveway. Property number 14110-516, vacant land. The majority of this is located along Highway 3. Most of the property on Birch Narrows portion did not receive the new road. There's a small piece that did receive the new road. Here, cosmetically, the old road does not match up with the new road, and the result is the road looks inconsistent and sloppy. It was obviously used as a staging area for the new road, and the two surfaces do not match cosmetically. Why did the new road not go to Highway 3? It does not match and looks worse than before. Once again, we are not enjoying any benefit from the new road. Property number 141-00635, pole barn. Our complaint is twofold here. First off, we are no better off with the new road, and now the grassy area that we have has been upended and has not been repaired to the original state. See Exhibit B pictures. We would also like to point out a couple of items. We are not civil engineers and we do not design roads. That said, I was there when a lot of road work was done. I was aware that apparently mistakes were made in the original soil borings and the project was stopped midstream due to soil. It seems to me that while we all appreciate a project being done expeditiously, it appears to me this project was very hastily done. So hastily that I wonder if the Class 5 and bedding had time to settle before the final layer of asphalt was laid. My fear is that because this road will fail prematurely in the future. I have also heard rumors there were certain improvements made on Highway 66 where residents' businesses were not assessed. I may not have all the details on this, but if true, it does not appear to be a fair way to treat all the residents. In conclusion, and with our comments, we feel we should not be assessed for the new road on Birch Narrows. The result has created certain hardships, and at the end of the day, we're seeing no apparent value to the new road. At three properties, the $12,000 potential assessment represents an unexpected hardship and is excessive. It has not increased our property values. That said, if assessments are still mandated, we would certainly hope for a drastic reduction in the assessed value from 33 feet in property ID 1410711 and the little new road exposure on property ID number 14110-516 mentioned above. Thank you respectfully, Tom and Lori Futh.
This letter is from Steve Johnston of 15262 Birch Narrows Road. To the Cross Lake City Council, I am sending this letter as notice that I object to the proposed road assessment. A city council is tasked with representing the interests of their constituents. I have not found one homeowner in Cross Lake who agrees with this new direction. I have asked 6 local real estate agents if a new road adds value to a property. All said a new road does not add value to a property and that even a bad road does not take away value. If there were an actual improvement, example, dirt road to paved road, curb and gutter, bike paths, etc., then this would be an improvement. There were no improvements to our road. This was a road replacement. Questions. Why isn't the elected city council listening to their constituents? Why in a year with large property tax increase would the city decide to adopt a new way to pay for road replacements, further burdening the people? Where did my tax money, which paid for road replacements in the past, go? I firmly believe that if the city council adopts road assessments, every new road replacement will provoke heated frustration between the local residents and the city. Is this really the path you want to go down? I am asking kindly that the city council rethink this new way of paying for roads. Sincerely, Steve Johnston.
This letter is from Harold and Lynn Chase, 15274 Birch Narrows Road. Disagree with the proposed $4,000 road assessment for Birch Narrows Road. Our names are Harold and Lynn Chase. We live at 15274 Birch Narrows Road. My wife and I are concerned with the proposed $4,000 assessment for the road repair on Birch Narrows Road. We feel it is very unfair to charge us this assessment when most Cross Lake homes have not had to pay in the past and this year as well. We have been paying city and state taxes for well over 25 years, and next year we will have to pay almost 50% more than this year. It's very unfair to have to pay for road improvements when the taxes we pay should cover this expense. We ask that the city will reject this proposal.
This letter is from Tim and Melissa Mears of 15266 Birch Narrows Road. Our names are Tim and Melissa Mears. We reside full-time on Birch Narrows Road. This letter is our written objection to the proposed assessment for the Birch Narrows Road project, and we reserve our right to appeal in district court. We would like to thank the City of Cross Lake employees, elected officials, council, and mayor, along with any appointed positions and volunteers. Your service and dedication to this wonderful small town is greatly appreciated. With council meetings and elected obligations pulling you away from your everyday living, you are forced to miss out on time with family and friends. Thank you for your sacrifices to serve the people and visitors of Cross Lake. The road assessment process has been a hotbed of scrutiny and inconsistency, which brings us to this final deciding factor of approval or rejection of assessments by the council. We feel the assessments are unfair and unwarranted, as we already pay property taxes to cover our portion of the operating expenses of the city. Our property taxes will continue to increase when we receive our new tax notice this November. We are waiting to find out what will likely be our largest property tax increase ever coming for 2023. The proposed special road assessment on top of record high property taxes is a topic that is angering to most, us included. We ask that you vote no on the proposed assessments. On May 1st, Birch Narrows was a paved street. Today, on September 12th, Birch Narrows is a paved street. Our property value has not increased due to the replaced road, and we have not received a special benefit as outlined in Minnesota Statutes, Chapter 429. We don't have any improvements with added curb and gutter or city sanitary sewer to our property. There wasn't a walking path added. We still have the same roadway we had before. The illusion of increased property value created by the road project is false. If we had added features like sewer or walking path as part of our project, then a case could be made for the potential of increased property value. If we had improved infrastructure with sewer, curb and gutter, or walking path, we would have been accepting of a road assessment for the improvement of our street and property value. That is not the case, and we ask the council to vote no against any street assessments, as this project did not provide a special benefit to our property. During the June 13th, 2022 regular council meeting, our city administrator, Mike Linus, stated there are other levy and bond options available for funding this and other road projects. We ask the council to vote no on the assessments and utilize other means of funding for the road projects, as has been done in the past without assessing property owners. With proper planning and consistent action, the city can address road maintenance and replacements without assessments. We have not heard from anybody on our road that is in favor or accepting of the proposed road assessments. As the city council and mayor, you have been elected to represent the people of Cross Lake. Please do the right thing and vote no to road assessments. And I do have one. You're done, right, Mike? I have one more from Paul Kelly, and he just said he needed more time to explore options for paying the improvements and felt like he needed more time. We didn't give him enough time to respond.
Okay, does any of the council here have any opinions or comments to make on this?
If I may, Mayor, in 2000, when I went to build my home, when I went in to pull my permit, I was informed that I had assessments because they improved the road that went through us. I know at least one of the people in here had to pay it along as well as I did, okay? Because they own property in the same development. But mine, because I got hit going all the way down, they did by the foot, and mine went all the way down the length of my property, and then it went to the corner and then took off and went the other direction, so I got hit with 2 assessments on mine. And it was pay the assessments or don't build. I had an option. And so I wrote a check for over $4,000 for that assessment. So the $4,000 number, folks, has been out here for 22 years that I'm aware of, because I wrote a check for it.
Please, come on, yeah.
Did your road go from gravel to asphalt at that point?
You need to come to the microphone and state your name and address, please. This is being recorded.
I'm the other guy.
To answer your question, there's a simple, yes, it did.
Yeah, so it went
Okay.
from dirt road to paved road. And if ours went from dirt road to paved road, I'd have my checkbook out and with a smile. Oh, Steve Johnston, sorry, 15262 Birch Narrows Road. We went from dirt road to paved road.
Yeah.
Right now, we're going from paved road to paved road. That's a big difference.
but
If
everywhere I
I was
have
going
lived-
from dirt road to paved road right now, I'd have a $4,000 check written out with a smile on it.
I've lived in 3 different states, 3 different cities. Every one of them have hit me with assessments. One of them hit me so much that they came through and put some tar down on the street and some pea gravel on it. And they hit me with a $250 assessment on that.
So correct me
And
if
it was
I'm
not
wrong.
optional.
Isn't this a new, in the past?
Oh, no, this
roads
is- this
have
is-
been replaced without being assessed.
But the thing of it is to say that it's not, these assessments have been around a long
You're
time.
off base, Aaron.
Okay, huh?
It went from dirt road to paved. We're not comparing apples to apples.
Doesn't matter, it's still a new road. Okay?
Well, I was around, I'm gonna jump in here because I lived on Wilderness Trail back in 1993 when they blacktopped that, and at that time, the city said, you're gonna pay an assessment to improve this road, and the city will take it over from then on out. Now, that was a different council. Policies can change, but I distinctly remember that comment.
Yeah, Terry Kovacevich, 15612 Birch Narrows Road, just responding to the feedback there. 20 years ago, who cares? Minnesota statute states that the burden is on the city to prove that a special benefit was given to the property owners to pay this. The taxing authority in Crow Wing County has stated to me that the road surfacing has no impact on property valuation. Bottom line, go prove it.
Okay, Marcia?
Okay. I guess we went through the process of having an appraiser come in and appraise and inform the council of exactly what the benefit was. I guess, we hired a professional, and I guess that's what we're listening to, is the professional that came in and did the appraisal. And my experience in special assessment hearings, I went to them for over 40 years, and I believe maybe one time out of those 40 years, one person said they wanted to pay an assessment. Generally, people that show up at an assessment hearing are objecting to it and don't want to pay an assessment. So after 40 years, I've experienced this annually, and that's what happens, is the people that are against it show up. Right or wrong, we have the appraisal for the benefit derived from the property, and I guess, what do you say to that? The appraisal is, and we're on the low end of the appraisal for the benefit, so I guess that's all I have to say about it.
Marcia? John?
I think there is value in having a road that's improved as opposed to one that's deteriorating. We're all going to pay for the road somehow. It's just a matter of whether you get assessed this year or it's included in all of our taxes. So I'm personally available to include them in the general levy, and I'm willing to work with whatever, but I'm hearing obviously the people tonight are not up for an assessment per se, but we are going to pay for them one way or the other.
Okay, my comments to it are, the council is trying to hold our taxes down. Doesn't help you guys right now, but by putting it on the levy, our taxes are going to go up. We're going to pay for it. My intention, my goal is to not replace roads unless they really need it. And so if we were to assess people who are on the roads, they would really need it because they would come to the city and said, please fix our road. It'd be a lot easier to get them to pay for the assessment. But on the other hand, I hear you real hard. I'm going to probably win the public popularity contest now, but this internal group is going to string me up and hang me. But I agree with you. We've had nothing but opposition with the sewer project, and now we've got really good stories, and you guys did a good job with your presentation. And I think no matter who we would do a road in town with, they would be a different face in here, but they would be saying the same. So the old adage of do unto others as you would have them do, I think kind of makes me, I agree with you guys. Put it on and take our time and not do a lot of roads. Tom, I'm sorry. I came into this thing fully prepared to support the assessments, but I can't do it.
But Mayor, you're going to face truth and taxation hearing in December, and if you increase the levy to cover all your roads, and you're going to increase the levy, if you're going to do that, and then you're going to have a room full of people saying, we don't want our taxes increased, so what are we supposed to do? Yeah. No assessments and no increase in taxes. What do you want done in the city of Cross Lake? I'm sorry, that is the reality. It's the time. It's the reality, and most communities are assessing for reconstruction. It used to be new construction, but now it's carried over into reconstruction.
Margaret Patso from Rushmore Boulevard. I disagree with you, Marcia. This road reclamation project did nothing to help our street. It made it worse. And I don't feel that we should have to bear the brunt of a crappy job. The fact that it's narrower than it was before, it's very hard to park, it's very hard to get around. It's now higher, which means I don't have any way to get rid of flooding. I don't agree with you. I understand that Nagel came in here and did an appraisal. They are used to doing appraisals in suburban communities with roads and curbs and walking paths and everything. We are a small community with small roads and my dad never wanted the road to be paved originally. He fought it tooth and nail. And we spent years fighting and still had to pay for something that never helped. And I have one more statement. The city put in the drainage on our property. They put in 2 storm drains for water runoff, and they put is it a French drain? What do they call it? Where it's a pipe that runs into the lake on our property. They approved that. They dug up our land and did that, and not one person from the city ever came out this summer to say, are you guys having any problems with your drainage? Maybe your drainage pipe is full of sand. Maybe the drainage pipe is broken. Wouldn't it have been a good idea to maybe look at that with a light to make sure that there is still good drainage through there? We don't know that. And it's not up to me to make sure the drainage is correct. It's up to the city. So I do not agree with you at all. I am willing to pay additional taxes with everybody else to make this city better, but I do not want to be assessed that amount of money.
Well, you agree that the city council is not required to go out there and look at
No, but the city
drainage
is-
and stuff. We hire professionals. We hire their appraisers as professionals. They have to know what they're doing. Comparables, I'm sure they're not comparing with the metro area.
I don't feel that Nagel
and
in Plymouth or from Golden Valley.
But that doesn't mean that that's who they're comparing it with. They're doing it with comparables here in Cross Lake or
Are
the
we
surrounding
sure of that?
community. No, I'm
you
not.
have that
but
information?
I would assume that a professional, that's how they would handle it.
Okay.
And as far as the drainage and all that, the city council hires an engineer. You got to understand that we're counting on our engineers and appraisers.
I was told by the city engineers, or by this engineering firm, that I had to make a call and on my own and say, you have to come out and check this. Why do I have to do that? It's your drain.
Who are you supposed to call? Oh, the public works director?
I guess. I don't know.
You know, because I am not a professional when it comes to engineering, nor appraisal, so I guess I got to count on.
Nor am I, and.
I got to
but-
count on what the professionals tell us. We pay them to do the job. We're not going to be out there on the streets.
Is this when you took Andy over to that low spot in your
Yes.
yard and thought it was a sinkhole when actually the pipe's somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay.
And he said
we're-
that there was quite a bit of sediment in the pipe at the end of it. I have no idea what's in between.
Was it corrected?
The sediment, I mean, that comes from the,
And
gets
did we,
caught up in the
did we?
runoff and it goes in there. The city does sanding and stuff like that.
I
You
was
get
told that the
sediment
city
from it.
has to take
it
care
But
of
I
it.
think her concern was that the pipe was failing, and she pointed to the location, and Andy quickly deduced that that's not where the pipe is, where it's settling. The pipe is somewhere else.
And if I understand, we surely didn't put a road on somebody's property, I hope.
No,
Okay.
no, the pipe is
I
on
just
there
like-
probably by easement, not
Yeah,
road.
okay.
So I've got the Nagel report, and I actually spoke with Ethan that prepared the report. And there's a chart in here that says a discussion of market benefit. And there's a fair statement, and I asked him, what does fair mean? And, you know, is that good, whatever? He said you can think of the same as okay. Okay, so fair is okay. So of all the things they measured, they said the road surface as it was okay plus.
The
Okay.
existing.
The existing road was okay plus. Base condition was okay to average. Curb, none. Drainage, none. Storm sewer, none, or surface. City water, none. City sewer, none. Sidewalk, none. Street lights, average to average. Well, we've got no street lights, so I don't know where that came from. Functional design of road, dated, which I said, what's with that? And he goes, well, it's dated, you know, so not good, not bad, just dated. Traffic management, average to average. Pedestrian use was okay and would change to good. Median, not available. Road proximity, nothing. Visual impact on properties, it would go from okay to good. There's no improvement here. And that we paid for, your report.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we've heard a lot, and thank you all. You guys did a lot of work coming here, so thanks. Are we gonna try to decide that tonight? Do we want to have more discussion on it? I mean, we could keep beating this up forever. I think we're all. John?
I'm prepared to make a motion that we put the charges for these road improvements on the general levy and get rid of the assessments.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
I'll second that motion. So any other discussion? I got a feeling we're gonna have a tie. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
So now what do we do?
Failed.
Huh?
Bring it up again, failed.
I believe with the section that's in up.
Tim, come on up and say who you are.
Tim Mears, Birch Narrows Road. I believe in section 429 it states that the council has to have a 4/5 vote to pass a levy, or pass an assessment.
Is that true,
Any other
Phil?
details on that?
No,
I don't think that's
Okay.
correct. You need 4/5 to go forward with it and everything else.
to go forward with the project.
Okay.
I believe so.
That's correct. The 4/5 vote is to get the project to go forward. Once the project is started and you've done that, then in this case, because it was a council-driven project, the 4/5 vote is required to have the project go forward. And then when the assessment portion comes, it's a simple majority.
Okay, thank you.
So I got a feeling no matter what project we do, if there's an assessment out, we're gonna have the same reaction to it. So. But I don't know what we do with the tie. Where is Mr. Schrupp when we need him?
Yeah, he would. He
Oh.
would be able to vote.
Yeah. And apparently he did recuse himself. So what do we do, Mike?
Well, if you have a tie, you can be done tonight and adjourn the meeting because you've already voted.
Yeah.
And you can bring it up at a later meeting if you so choose.
I think the main focus is to get input. You're not required to adopt today.
Yeah, okay. Well, does anybody have any last thing to say here?
Anything new?
Tim?
One thing, it all comes down to the appraisal. When you finance your home and you pull a mortgage and a bank calls an appraiser, they can't say, I'm gonna call ABC Appraisals. It goes into a blind system because it's biased if you choose your appraiser, because you know generally how those appraisals go. Was Nagel called out, or is it a blind appraisal process?
Nagel's the only
I
name
think
I've ever
the
heard.
city engineer at that time, I think they retained Nagel.
So
They had
they knew them.
experience they do appraisals in other communities around here. I know they do it for Brainerd as well. I believe they've done it in Baxter as well, too.
Okay, so it's not a blind system where it's
No.
completely unbiased?
I don't believe so. I believe that it's, they had familiarity with them.
So Nagel, it sounds like they do that throughout the state?
I assume they do. I don't know for certain. I know they've done it in Brainerd and Baxter as well.
So if an appraisal company would consistently say there's no improvement to the property, they would kill their own business. Nobody'd hire them. So that's one thing I think to take in consideration here is if the appraiser was called out, because they do that all throughout the state, there's probably a great likelihood they're going to come up with a special benefit to the property through a road project, where they're going to put themselves out of business.
I'm not going to be as devious as that. I'm just going to say the city tried to do their homework ahead of time and get an opinion of benefits. So if it did go to court, if they did adopt it, they would have done their homework and not been just picking something blindly or assuming it was defendable. It's still up to the city to decide if you want to proceed or not. It's your assessment policy. But you have an appraisal.
Yeah, no, we do. But I've protested that appraisal soon after we got it. I mean, I was one that voted to get it, but once I started to realize what it was, I was not in favor of it.
Mike, how did we pick the firm? How did we pick the firm?
We relied on our engineer to come up with with a qualified appraisal firm, just as Phil had said.
Right.
How do we find the firm? How do we find the firm?
We relied on our engineer to provide us with an appraisal firm and a qualified appraiser to provide that service, just like you would an attorney or an engineer.
One more comment on appraisal. I think you should review the statute again, because appraised value and market valuation there's a difference in it. And the special benefit is based on 4,000 improvement in market valuation.
Well, the fact is we didn't do Manhattan Beach, we didn't do Anchor Point, and if this ends up going that we're not gonna do these 3 roads, then we are gonna put road improvements on the general levy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're gonna do.
Just one comment to that, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
We did assess the road in front of City Hall here for both sewer and road, and we did assess Perkins Road recently.
Which is the other one?
Perkins Road.
Oh, yeah.
And we assessed Dream Island Bridge.
Yeah, let's leave the detour alone, will ya? They don't have enough beer to cure that problem.
Kathy King, Birch Narrows Road. The second paragraph of the NAGO report says, this report is not an appraisal of a specific property, but rather provides a preliminary opinion of a general range of market benefit, if any, for similar properties. We keep using the word appraisal in the sense of a real estate appraisal. This was not an appraisal. It was an opinion.
Correct. It's, as we've stated repeatedly, it's an opinion of market benefit.
So we're just gonna, this year, we're gonna have to add 400,000 to the levy, which, it's not gonna kill any of us. We'll get these paid for, and then we'll decide what to do moving forward.
I have a question with either of you.
Well, and that hasn't been decided yet, because it's a tie vote here.
I have a
So-
question. Would either of the other council members potentially be interested in getting rid of the assessment and moving on and just putting on the general levy, knowing that we have spent hours and hours and hours coming up with the number, but in the big scheme of things, there's not a lot of happiness with assessments. We've run into that over the last 5 years. We're all going to pay for it one way or the other. It's just a matter of who pays and how quickly. I'm just asking, would anybody be willing to also agree to not have an assessment?
I feel that I'll pay for my street. Everyone else pays for their own. That's my opinion.
And Marcia, you're not changing your opinion?
No, I'm on a no-maintenance road. No. I have a private public works director that takes care of it. So, no, I honestly, I was in city administration for 40 years, and this is so typical. The people that show up at assessment hearing don't want it, and that's all there is. You got to think about what's good for the overall citizens of Cross Lake, and I guess if you want to throw away the assessment policy and hike up the levy, I just don't want people coming to the truth and taxation meeting and say, you know, you increase the levy. Well, we're forced to, on that particular issue, we're forced to with the roads.
Judy Fish, Rushmore Boulevard. If I could address that, I think we have fewer than 10 full-time residents on Rushmore Boulevard, on Rushmore Trail. Almost everyone there is seasonal, whether they live in the cities and come up, or they live in, you know, California, where I'm a permanent resident. We're paying at a higher rate because we're not homesteaded. And it was really hard for people to get here in person to the February meeting. There are people who aren't here now because they aren't up here during the middle of the week and their kids are in school. So I think I would object to your assumption that only those of us that are here are the ones that don't want an assessment.
Judy, I'm going to make a comment to your living in California. When you come here from California, you expect nice services here. And if you come at Christmas, you expect police, fire, snow's plowed and whatever.
Yeah.
So whether you're here or not, we need to perform to the level that you're here.
Well, and
So-
I'm paying a higher level of taxes
I
when
don't,
I'm
you know,
not.
that homestead thing changed.
No, there is no homestead. If you're seasonal, you pay at a higher rate.
Yeah, is that, it
You
seems
know,
to me
and-
that they
and-
got a
and
lot
we've-
closer.
And we've done that. The original,
Yeah.
the original blacktop in our neighborhood was something that a lot of us who weren't there in the winter voted for because it was for the good of the year-round residents. And there
But-
were more at that time. I'm just saying, I object to you assuming that because there are only people here that object to it, that the people who aren't here are in favor of it. I'm just stating it's more difficult for them to get here.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that my experience is that people who show up at the assessment hearing, I'm not talking about any other people out there, I'm talking about the people that show up at an assessment hearing are objecting to the assessment. That's what I stated. I'm not talking about anybody that's not here or can't be here. I'm talking about the people that are here.
Thank you.
And I guess I made a comment, we got to add 400 to the levy this year. We really have to add 800 because we're going to pay for the whole thing, so.
So, Mr. Mayor, can I just bring up a point again?
Sure, absolutely.
Unless you think it's going to change. It doesn't sound like, well, it doesn't look like you're making a decision tonight.
Yep.
So maybe it makes sense to have this discussion when you have the city attorney there to be able to talk about the process. He might have, he has the input that these people have brought forward about the benefit is not there in their opinion. And you can have the attorney there as well, and you probably will have well, I guess he has to recuse himself, but you might have information that will sway a decision.
So the motion dies tonight, it was a tie, and well, we're not going to table it, we'll just pick it up at the next
Right.
regular council
Maybe table's the
meeting.
wrong word, but I mean,
Yeah, it died, and we're just going to close the meeting here, but we'll pick it up when Brad's here at the next regular council meeting.
I would like to comment on your 800,000. We'll still bond for it, the road project. But the bond payment will come out of the total levy.
Yeah.
Just, I don't want people out there saying, oh my God, they're going to add $800,000 to the tax levy, because we're going to get the same thing at the Truth and Taxation meeting if we increase the levy. People are going to be here saying, no. I don't know how we're going to work it out, but.
Yeah.
I want to be clear on your statement. You want to recess this meeting?
No, we'll just close it. I mean, the motion dies,
Okay.
and we'll just adjourn the meeting. Thanks all for coming, thanks for all your preparation, you know.
And now I'll have to come back again.
I always love it when people fight the fight. So, well, you'll have to, Doug. I mean, we heard you. I think,
Not everybody heard that.
yeah,
You did, you heard.
yeah.
Not everybody here heard.
All right, well,
Well-
we'll have to adjourn it until the next opportunity.
I heard everything, but I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay? Second, all in favor?
All right.
We're adjourned. Thanks, folks.